My name is Fleur Conway. I'm an Oxygen Advantage Advanced Instructor, low pressure fitness trainer, life emotional coach, and bark flower therapist. Connecting people around the globe. Hello everybody, so here we are with Chaim. I hope I've pronounced that properly. And Chaim is in Holland, I believe?
Yes, correctly.
So yeah, today we'd like to meet you and we'd like to know a little bit more about you and what you do. And yeah, so go ahead, tell us a little bit about you.
So if I had to explain who I am, I don't know how much time you got, but it'd probably take a lifetime to tell. But I can explain to you what I do. In essence, what I do is I study life, and I study the life of the 20th century, the 30th, and anything before and after. And I study the life through different lenses, through in a holistic way, looking at dietary things, movement, breathing, philosophy, physics, physical aspects, metaphysics, and I try to look for certain bolts which I can fit into my own life and make my life a little bit more smooth, if I could use that word. And I show these things to other people, and it could be anything. And I show it to other people, and they choose which tools they use that I show them. And most of the time, it's the aim is to create a more harmony between people's minds and people's lives, internal and external. That's my philosophy. Yeah. And for the most part, in the last, let's say 10 years, it was mostly breathing and movement, but I'm starting to expand, and in the following years it'll get much bigger than myself, and I hope to touch as many lives as possible as I can in my own life. Yeah.
I follow you on Instagram and you know there are a lot of posts that I find really really interesting. So what are these tools that you talk about? What are what sort of tools do you use or you explain to other people so they can implement in their lives?
Basically put, it's getting people to ask the right questions. And if I make it a little bit more complex, I can get into the actual practice, which could be breathing techniques, breathing skills. It could be fascia release. It could be mindset shifts, different perspectives on different things, different perspectives on themselves. It could be a change in their diet. And by diet, I do not only mean foods, but anything you consume, which is way bigger than just solid foods. It's everything, the way that you can.
Energy,
Yes, exactly.
yeah, how you interact with other people. I
Yeah,
suppose also on a sexual level as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. And also just how people consume information, like we discussed before we started the recording. And how you consume anything, liquids, solid foods, information, relationships. And what I show people, I look at people, I study them, and I share what I see. Like, it's very simple. And some people repulse for me, but I don't think it's me. I think it's just the things that I say. And some people love it, and they keep working with me, and we grow together. Me as the guy who show things, and them as the people who look at things. Yeah.
Well, I think maybe there are some people that aren't ready to see those things, and they're not ready to change those things that need changing. Sometimes it's a bit of a shock for some people. So yeah, maybe those people, they're not so much repelled from you, but maybe they're not ready to go through that process, because there's when people have to change things of themselves or the way they've done things or the way they think, their belief system, the way they interact with other people, the way they interact with themselves, their breathing, it takes also responsibility. And there are a lot of people that aren't ready to take the responsibilities themselves to do those changes. So maybe it's not so much, repelling from you, but maybe they're not ready.
Mm.
So it's very, very interesting. And one of the things that we were discussing before was actually social media. And I think there are so many people that are getting stuck in the social media, and the social media is becoming like well, it's a virtual reality. It's a reality that exists, but it doesn't really exist in our real life.
Yeah.
So how do you see um, the social media and all this technology that we're submersed in?
So I'm gonna reference two people, and the first one I know for sure is the right person. There's a video on YouTube called The Dangers of Living in Two Realities by Paul Chek. The Dangers of Living in Two Realities by Paul Chek. Watch that video. It's very fascinating, and he explains what I'm about to explain in a very simple and digestible way. And there was another quote by a person, and I can't remember the name, but he said something along the lines that humans nowadays create so much technology outside of themselves, which actually all of the stuff that's happening outside of ourselves already has a place within. And all the technology is trying to basically fill the gap of what we already have inside of us, but are not stepping into, if you will. And the technology is trying to replicate that hole inside of ourselves, outside of ourselves. Now it sounds kind of demonizing, but it's far from beyond that. I mean, social media, without social media, I wouldn't be here
We
with
wouldn't
you,
be here. Yeah.
right? Like, it's an amazing tool, but it's very dangerous for many people, especially young people. But the age doesn't really matter. It's just you need to be aware. And if you're not aware, you're who's taking the phone out of your pocket when you want to scroll on Facebook? Did Facebook do it, or did you do it? Like, create an intention when you are opening your social media. Hey, I want to open this social media right now to check on my friends, to share something that I saw in nature. And as soon as you create an intention behind what you do on social media, the whole ball game changes. And you then start to use social media instead of it using you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is the key. It's you use social media rather than social media is taking over your life, is taking or is using you. I mean, yeah, because I mean, social media is well, it's a big part of our lives because we are in the era of technology, and it's a very useful tool. But again, it's how you use it and the intention that's behind. That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, and it's very important to have that in mind and that responsibility. I see it a lot with, for instance, with women. There's a lot of um, especially the younger generation. They're always looking at that young girl that's got the perfect body, that's fit, that's this, that's the other, and they're always looking up. But I mean, a lot of the social media as well is not the complete truth. So what we see by all these, these women that look fantastic, maybe behind the scene, it's not so amazing and so fantastic. So yeah, people do have to be careful.
Yeah.
And there was another day that we were talking, or I saw a post of yours on Instagram, and you were doing a wonderful belly dance. It wasn't a belly dance. But go on, explain in this video what you were doing.
I honestly, I don't even want to try to use words, so I'm just gonna show it. I learned it from a video about 10 years ago, a guy named Hickson Gracie. He's one of the most famous fighters, mixed martial artists, and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners. I saw it, and then it was monkey see, monkey do, and I kept doing it, and I've been doing it for 10 years. And honestly, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I kind of do, but it's a very limited explanation, and but it feels amazing, so I just keep doing it. And I'll show you. I'll show you right now. I have to take my shirt off though.
you have such control over all your abdominal muscles. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Because I do hyperpressives and I do the abdominal vacuum, but I can only do the abdominal vacuum like you first did at the first moment, where you're opening up the ribs and the abdomen goes in. But I can't move, I can't isolate the rectus abdominis and push them out. I can't do that. I mean, I think a lot of it is from practice. And I think a lot of it is as well because I've had surgeries.
Okay.
So, when you have surgeries, you can also have adhesion. So I think maybe, there's some adhesion in my abdominal cavity. So it makes it a little bit more difficult. But I think it's absolutely amazing the way that you can, you can just move them around and then you pop them out and you bring them back in. It's really, really good. It's really, really good for the digestive system. It's good for the internal organs, for the pelvic organs as well. It's a complete massage for all the digestive system and all the internal organs. So how long did it take you to be able to actually do all the movements completely?
Yeah, one thing I want to say that it also creates is a lot of space within the body, but within the mind as well. As you could see, I was in retention for quite some time, and you can find a lot of space. It's really calming. It's really beautiful. Space for the food, space for your thoughts, and everything else. How long did it take me? I don't know. I really don't know. It might have been a couple months or a year, something like that. And I honestly, I don't. It's not that. It's not hard. It's not hard at all, and it doesn't take as much practice as you think when you see it. It's just about creating the neurological connection with the muscles as well.
Yeah,
And
it's
yeah,
dissociating.
yeah,
I suppose really, we're used to thinking of the abdominal muscles just as like a block, rather than thinking that we have different abdominal muscles. We have the transverses, we have the
the obliques.
yes, thank you. It's coming in Spanish. Yeah, the obliques, and then we have the rectus. So we have different ones. So when you're dissociating them,
Okay,
that's, I think, when it becomes really quite precise.
interesting. I didn't know that. See, I didn't even know that.
Oh, there you are then.
Thank you.
And it's really good as well when you're doing the ab vacuum. I suppose you also do it the same way as I do it. So you would inhale and then you exhale, and then you're holding without any air, and then you're
Yeah,
opening up the rib cage, and then the ab vacuum occurs. Really,
yeah, correct.
it's not so much the sucking in; it's the opening up the rib cage. So
Yeah,
you're also giving the diaphragm a really nice stretch.
mm,
So it's
yeah,
really, really good for the diaphragm, and it's really, really good for breathing.
yeah,
And you are also an oxygen advantage instructor.
correct. Yes,
And is this something that you do with people as well?
definitely. Yeah, I finished the course last October, the Oxygen Advantage Advanced Instructor course. I've then taken my time to add my own things
Yeah.
onto the course, which I found was limiting to be found within the course, which is with any method. I mean, there's no method that cures all. And yeah, like a lot of the stuff that I teach in terms of breathing comes from Patrick McEwen from the Oxygen Advantage program, and my own unique twist and my own knowledge and wisdom I add into it, and then I create a recipe where I have my wisdom, the wisdom of all the other people that have contributed to it, and the wisdom of the person who's learning it, and that's like a
Yeah.
recipe for greatness.
Well,
Yeah.
I think really that is the way, that is the best way. Because, well, every individual is unique. And every individual, even if they might have the same similar issue, say for instance, somebody who has anxiety, for instance, one person will feel the anxiety in a completely different way than another, or one's anxiety might come from a different issue, or from a different trauma, or from a different problem than another. So we have to deal with people in individual and as individuals.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's really, really good to be able to have the information and the teachings that we get, for instance, from Oxygen Advantage. But I think everybody, every instructor also has individual knowledge to be able to add in their own uniqueness.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what makes it, incredibly powerful. Although we do the Oxygen Advantage exercises as they are, because that's the Oxygen Advantage method, but we all bring in our other knowledge. For instance, I will bring in, when I'm working with people, I can bring in, the posture work, emotional intelligence, or the pelvic floor, working with the pelvic floor, depending on what the person needs. And you, for instance, bring in, all these other tools that you were talking about, which are absolutely amazing. So maybe we can, on another time, if you fancy, we could do another video and we could go in a little bit deeper into one of these tools that you use with your clients, and you can explain a little bit more in depth, each tool that you use, or we can do various videos so you can explain a little bit more. And where can people find you?
In the Amersfoort. And besides that, on Facebook as Chaim Ariel, and on Instagram as Chaim Jitsu, which is ChaimJitsu, Chaim Jitsu.
Yeah, I'll write it down anyway.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
You also do martial arts?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
I practice submission grappling, which is a mixture of all the arts it takes to grapple and submit people. It's a very it's fascinating. I mean, we basically work with physics, with breathing, and we try to strangle each other and break each other's limbs in a very safe environment where we get to explore our bodies, our minds, our possibilities. And we create a community, we play, we love each other, and it's truly an amazing thing. I'm very happy that I found it. Yeah.
But you don't strangle anybody and you don't break anybody's legs?
Depends on them.
Really?
I mean, if I attempt to strangle someone and he's not willing to submit, he will most likely go to sleep. It doesn't happen as often as you might think right now, but I have broken someone's arm in competition before.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it wasn't his arm, it was actually, I believe it was the tendon that I snapped off.
Right, okay.
It hurt. Yeah, it was a wild experience. Yeah.
Right, okay, but that was in a competition.
Exactly. I was in a competition, the referee was not doing his job correctly, and the guy was not willing to give up. And it's a competition. We both signed up to compete. So I wasn't willing to sacrifice a piece of plastic for another man's health, which is not something I would repeat, but it happened. Yeah.
So I suppose in these types of sports, or I don't know whether you can call them sports, or yeah.
Yeah, depends on how you practice it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose there is that component of dominating and submission, and one also has to learn when you're dominating and when it's time to say, okay, I surrender.
Yeah.
So it's yeah, that's actually quite interesting, because that's also what we have to do in life.
Yeah.
It's we also have to learn when to surrender.
Yeah.
and when to just surrender and just go with the flow and give
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
through martial arts you can learn to work with masculinity and femininity in the real core of the work. And I have to tell you, I've learned more on the mats in the past 7 or 8 years than I've done in any school I've went to. It's basically kind of what it is. Jiu-jitsu or submission grappling is a philosophy expressed in physical reality.
Right.
Yeah.
I think one can learn a lot from martial arts.
Yeah.
Also the control of the mind, the control of the body, not giving into your emotions, having a really good balance.
Yeah.
Because it's dangerous. You can strangle somebody or you can, hurt somebody. So yeah.
Yeah, and I have to say though that it's not uh, um, it's not done by many people like that. The real core of martial arts has kind of lost its power in many different places because there are people who train for 70 years but didn't pick up a single piece of information that they use outside of the mat. And martial arts is just like the moon; it enhances what's already there. And if you don't have the right surroundings to tell you that maybe the stuff that you're doing isn't right for you or is not serving you anymore, you just become a bigger asshole. Or if you're a very loving person, you become a more loving person. Yeah.
So it flourishes what you already are, what's already in you.
Yeah, because of the fact that submission grappling is practiced without words, and there's a lot of stuff going on before we speak, and a lot of stuff. Like there's stuff going on inside of you that words cannot even come close to, which will be expressed on the mats. And when you spar with someone, you have a real conversation with them. When you spar with someone for 5 minutes, you might get to know them better than some of the friends you have for 30 years. Like it's really amazing.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe on another video you can tell us a little bit more about that.
Definitely. Or we can all go get together and fight each other.
I don't know. Maybe I'll watch. I think I'll just watch.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for joining me, and it's been lovely talking to you. And hopefully we can catch up soon.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak and express myself. I always love it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay then. Take care. Bye-bye.